In this video, we're going to go over the rarest ores found through mining. To help narrow down the search, we've only counted ores that can be obtained from mining deposits and that are used in crafting recipes. Starting off our list at number 10, we have Truesilver ore. This ore is one of the 3 uncommon quality ores from the classic era of WoW. Truesilver deposits can be found in 16 different zones throughout the continents of Kalimdor and Eastern Kingdoms. While 8 zones on 2 continents may sound like a lot, in reality, it can be quite difficult to find Truesilver deposits for 2 main reasons. First, only 10 of those zones really have a chance to spawn Truesilver deposits, with Truesilver deposits being much more rarer in the other 6 zones. Second, a Truesilver deposit itself often shares a spawn chance along with both the iron and mithril deposits. Luckily, few zones with a lot of Truesilver deposits overlap with those that have a lot of iron deposits. On Kalimdor, the Truesilver deposits are the most common in the 4 different zones, ranked in ascending order: Winterspring, Thousand Needles, Fellwood, and Pre-Legion Silithus. In the Eastern Kingdoms, the zones with the most Truesilver deposits in ascending order are Searing Gorge, the Badlands, and finally the Burning Steppes. While some of these zones may seem an odd place to put rare ores, remember that a Truesilver deposit itself requires mid to end mining skills in classic mining in order to be able to yield ore from it. Corresponding to this, many of the zones listed are mid to end leveling zones in classic, with recommended leveling being 45 levels or higher. However, updates to leveling the Shadowlands expansion, which included level squish, level scaling, and chromie time, have essentially meant the end of leveling path. And at number 9, we have another classic era ore, this time gold ore. Like Truesilver ore, gold ore is an uncommon item. However, a gold vein is a lot harder to find than a Truesilver deposit, and thus makes it next on this list. Gold veins have a rare chance to spawn in place of iron and mithril deposits. To further complicate things, as we mentioned in our last entry, mithril deposits can also instead spawn Truesilver deposits. So if you're waiting for a gold deposit to spawn, good luck, because theoretically, it has a 1 in 4 chance to spawn. But this number is actually much lower because the chance for the deposit to spawn as an iron deposit and then as a gold deposit are separate and different chances each. All this to say that any of these mining nodes in question have somewhere around a 6% chance to spawn a gold vein. As with Truesilver deposits, gold veins can be found on both the continents of Kalimdor and the Eastern Kingdoms. On Kalimdor, they are most common in the zones of Thousand Needles, Feralis, Fellwood, and Desolace. In the Eastern Kingdoms, gold veins are most often found in the zones of the Eastern Kingdoms, Burning Steppes, the Badlands, and Searing Gorge. Almost all of these zones are the same ones mentioned for the Truesilver deposits, but unfortunately only 1 mining node can be spawned at a time. Since gold ore is found in smaller numbers of zones and has more RNG associated with it than Truesilver ore does, it is slightly more rarer than Truesilver ore is, so it lands at the number 9 spot on this list. And at number 8, we have 2 more ores from Classic WoW. Both small and large obsidian shards can only be found in 2 instances, which are the Ruins of Ahn'Qiraj and the Temple of Ahn'Qiraj. The Temple of Ahn'Qiraj is best known for the last boss in the raid, the Old God Cthulhu. Small and large obsidian shards come from the obsidian chunks, which only form around the corpses of 2 mobs. The first is the boss named Mome in the Ruins of Ahn'Qiraj, and the second are the trash mobs called the Anubisaf Defender and Obsidian Eradicators, which can be found in both instances. To mine large obsidian chunks and small obsidian chunks, players with mining need a total skill of 305. Since the maximum limit to mine at the time was only 300, players needed a mining enchantment to grant them the extra 5 skill points needed in order to mine the chunks. While they have the name of shards, these 2 items are actually used in many crafting recipes, just without having to be smelted. Indeed, players needed many of both small obsidian shards and large obsidian shards to craft some of the best gear in the game in Classic. Since these chunks are only in 2 instances in the far southwest of Kalimdor, overall these ores are quite rare. However, they are quite easy to obtain as multiple mobs can drop multiple ores in both instances. Still, the small and large obsidian shards were one of the end cap materials in the original game, and they are at the very least worth mentioning on this list. And at number 7, we have the infamous ore from the infamous expansion. Elethium ore was added in the Shadowlands expansion and is rare for 2 reasons. First, it can only easily be obtained in the 2 zones of the Maw and Zereth Mortis. Second, Elethium ore actually is the first ore in the game to have a blue border, signifying it as a rare quality item. The Maw and Korthia are not easily traversed, and this was especially hard considering the mounts were not allowed in the Maw for most of the expansion. With random mountains, no linear paths in sight, hostile mobs around every corner, farming for Elethium in the Maw was hard, but what made it nigh impossible was competing with other players for it as well. Flying in the Maw is still not in the game for some reason, and harvesting Elethium ore was a massive pain before patch 9.2, which saw the introduction of the zone of Zereth Mortis. Farming Elethium ore in Zereth Mortis is much easier and faster, and flying was eventually allowed in Zereth Mortis as well. What made Elethium ore so valuable and why it was added as a blue rare quality item is because it was needed to craft upgrades for gear acquisition. For example, 20 Elethium ore was required to create the crafter's mark for the Chained Isles in Shadowlands blacksmithing. Using this item on a piece of gear significantly increased its item level and attribute stats. Overall, Elethium ore was such a nightmare to farm before patch 9.2, and because of how bad the Shadowlands crafting system was as a whole, is getting placed at number 7. And at number 6, we have another ore from Classic, this time the good old Dark Iron ore. Dark Iron ore is unique in several ways. First, like the Obsidian Shards, it can only be obtained in instances. Blackrock Depths and Molten Core are both the only places to find Dark Iron deposits. Although if you want to get technical, the original entrance to Molten Core is through Blackrock Depths. Prior to Cataclysm, Dark Iron deposits could actually appear in the Burning Steppes or the Searing Gorge. This had been the case since patch 1.7, Rise of the Blood God, but the complete world revamp from Cataclysm removed the open world Dark Iron deposits. The other unique thing about Dark Iron ore is that it can only be smelted at the Black Forge, which is located close to the entrance to the Molten Core in the Blackrock Depths. What makes Dark Iron ore rare is a combination of several things. There are only a few Dark Iron deposits in the dungeons and raids, usually around 5 per instance run. While lockouts for raids and dungeons do not affect mining nodes in the modern game, during several of its earlier expansions after cleared Molten Core, the Dark Iron deposits would not respawn, meaning a player would have to wait until the next reset to be able to mine Dark Iron deposits again. Dark Iron ore comes in at a hot number 6 on this list because it's the only ore that can be farmed in a raid and must be smelted in a dungeon, making it truly unique in the entire game. Its few deposits and how far apart the mining nodes are also makes this ore considerably harder to farm. And coming number 5, we have the Infernal Brimstone from the Legion expansion. Infernal Brimstone is a bit of a different item in several ways. First, similar to Obsidian Shards, it's not a true ore in the fact that it must be smelted into a bar to be used in various crafting recipes. Second, and what makes this item so rare, is that it's only available during world quests. Third, it was the first stone in the game to have an item quality of uncommon. The world quest to obtain Infernal Brimstone is named Brimstone Destroyer, and it appears in every zone in the Broken Isles. However, due to a number of factors, the fact that it's a world quest makes the stone all the more rare because of this. First, only 2 world quests for Brimstone Destroyer may be active in any zone. Second, and more important, only players with the mining profession can mine the core, meaning this world quest can only be completed by miners. This world quest is very simple and straightforward. All the players do is kill an elite Burning Legion Infernal. Once it dies, it will drop a large Brimstone core on the ground. This Brimstone core can be mined, which yields 1 to 4 Infernal Brimstone for the player. Since Infernal Brimstone is not only effectively time-gated by the spawn rate of the world quests, it also means players can easily miss grabbing them from the world quest if they're not available to play during the time the world quest is up. And at number 4, we have a pair of ores for the Mist of Pandaria expansion. Both black and white Trillium ores are of uncommon quality and can be mined from Trillium veins. Trillium veins themselves have a chance to spawn only after a Ghost Iron node has been depleted. Therefore, every time a player mines a Trillium vein, there is a chance they will either receive white Trillium ore or black Trillium ore. Since they are mutually exclusive, this effectively halves the chances for players to get white or black Trillium ore, in addition to the fact that they only have a chance to spawn after a Ghost Iron ore has been depleted. Trillium veins can spawn an even more rare rich type, which, while these do have a chance to drop both black and white ores, they are quite the rarity. While Trillium veins can spawn in any one of the 7 main zones of Pandaria, the rarity, in addition to the chance to only drop 1 of the black or white Trillium ores, makes these ores a headache to grind. To make matters worse, despite all the games of chance, miners still need 2 black and 2 white Trillium ores in order to make the Trillium bar, which is a common crafting reagent in several Pandarian profession recipes. Even Blizzard eventually realized what a grind getting certain mats was as Mist of Pandaria, as they added the Spirit of Harmony vendors in the Veil of Eternal Blossoms. These vendors allowed players to hand over the Spirit of Harmony world drops in exchange for crafting reagents, among which included black and white Trillium ore. Because there were other means to obtain reagents in Mist of Pandaria, like the farm and the Spirit of Harmony vendors, the black and white Trillium ores land at number 4 on this list. And at number 3, we have Eternium ore. This is the first ore on this list from the Burning Crusade expansion and is one of the 2 very unique ores in the game. What makes Eternium so unique is that the ore itself has no vein or deposit associated with it. That is to say, there is no Eternium deposit or Eternium vein. So, how does one acquire Eternium ore then? Players with the mining profession can only acquire ore as a drop chance while mining other mining nodes from the Burning Crusade expansion. These ores include adamantite deposits, fel iron deposits, Khorium veins, and netherite deposits. As you can imagine, this makes farming for this ore quite a pain. Luckily, with max level skill in outland mining, players can obtain anywhere from 1 to 6 Eternium ore when it does drop. The drop chance for Eternium ore varies for each deposit, with rich nodes having a higher chance to drop them. For example, a rich adamantite deposit has a 50% chance to drop an Eternium ore, and a regular adamantite deposit only has a 30% chance to drop one. Khorium veins are tied with adamantite deposits at a 30% drop rate according to Wowhead's data. Fel iron deposits and netherite deposits have a much lower chance to drop Eternium ore at only a 6% chance. So while Eternium ore isn't necessarily a hard to get ore, it relies so heavily on RNG that it deserves a spot on this list and comes in at number 3. And at number 2, we have Khorium, another ore from the Burning Crusade expansion. This item's inventory icon itself has a light green border, signifying its uncommon quality. However, it would be more appropriate for this ore to have the rare blue border, since it's simply so hard to get. Khorium veins themselves have a rare chance to spawn to replace a fel iron deposit or an adamantite deposit. However, the spawn rate for fel iron and adamantite is much higher than the chance for the mined ores to respawn as a Khorium vein. While there are no exact numbers available, it seems a reasonable estimate is that it's about a 5% chance to respawn as a Khorium vein and 95% chance to respawn as a fel iron deposit or an adamantite deposit. Luckily, Khorium veins can be found in all zones of Outland, and even in a few dungeons as well. The 4 best zones to farm the ore in are into Grand, Blade Edge's Mountain, Netherstorm, and Shadowmoon Valley. The dungeons the Khorium veins can spawn in are the 4 dungeons of Auchindoun, which includes the Auchinite Crypts, Mana Tombs, Sethic Halls, and the Shadow Labyrinth. These mining nodes also have a chance to spawn to the 3 dungeons in the Coilfang Reservoir, which include the Slave Pens, the Steam Vault, and the Underbog. What makes Khorium so rare is that it simply has a very low spawn rate. Since it is completely RNG dependent, and since Outland can be such a big place flying from one mining node to another, Khorium takes the second spot on this list. And finally, at number 1 on this list, we have Khaz'gorite ore. This ore was added in the Dragonflight expansion and is the second ore in the game to have a rare quality blue icon border. It is also unique to Eternium ore in the fact that it has no mining nodes of its own and must be gathered from other mining nodes. Specifically, the only source of Khaz'gorite ore is from the mining of Ceravite deposits and Draconium deposits. While these deposits are almost everywhere in the Dragon Isles, the drop rate of Khaz'gorite ore is a very low chance for many reasons. For starters, the drop rate for Khaz'gorite ore is abysmally low. Yes, the player can improve their chances at getting it, but even with the maximum mining stat, it's still no guarantee. For example, the mining sub-specializations in Dragonfight require a ton of profession knowledge to fully unlock and maximize the chance to find Khaz'gorite ore. A total of at least 65 profession knowledge is required to unlock the basic ability to find Khaz'gorite. A total of 35 points in the mining process specialization and a further 30 points in surveying, which is a sub-specialization of mining process. Players can also increase their perception skill to get more Khaz'gorite ore, but this requires new equipment and unlocking more profession knowledge. Without this extra perception stat, the baseline drop rate for Khaz'gorite ore from Ceravite deposits is around 2%, and for Draconium deposits is around 10%. Khaz'gorite ore does have a higher chance to drop from rich deposits, but even then the results are barely perceptible, with rich Ceravite deposits dropping Khaz'gorite ore 5% of the time, and rich Draconium deposits dropping Khaz'gorite ore 20% of the time. While any mining node in the Dragon Isles has the potential to drop Khaz'gorite ore, as long as the player has enough stats and profession knowledge, the RNG component and the extra hoops players must go through just for a chance to get Khaz'gorite ore definitely makes it worthy of being the number 1 spot on this list. And as we wrap up this video, I'd like to say that most of the data for the script came from Wowhead, and while this is hardly a random sample, it is at least a glimpse into some drop rates. That does it for this video. Thanks for watching, and now enjoy a terrible joke. I entered the Ravenhold Rogue Championship Tournament, and I took gold, silver, and copper.